There's probably someone in our garden centre, even if it's not us, that possibly might be very good on camera. Just it could be quick tips and tricks and questions to ask when you're looking for grass or grass seeds, you know, whatever. Simple tips and tricks, but on video are going to be very, very engaging. In the past, we did them via text. So video is exploding. So the video revolution is here. We need to think about it. We mentioned this before, but I mean, we are very much in a time where over 70% of all activity on social media, and I'm sure it's possibly even higher now, takes place on a mobile device. So that's where people are seeing our pictures, seeing our updates, and engaging with us online. So we've got to think mobile, because the person that's going to consume our content, the likelihood is they're going to be looking at it on a mobile device. The good news is, in our business, we're mobile. I don't think anyone sits behind a desk all day. So the reality is we need to use our mobile devices to create content on the fly as well. But very much it's a mobile world we live in now. As regards future things that are starting to happen already, are these ones. Mentioned videos becoming a big deal. That's continuing to evolve. Unique, rich content becomes vital. What the hell does that mean? Does anyone know? Help me out here, because it was a couple of days ago since I put this slide together. I can't remember. What do you think rich content might be?
Anything anyone has to say, or just specifically?
Thank you, Abby, for speaking. Brilliant. And you're right. The reality is, I suppose, the internet has become very, very savvy. Be these search engines and social media networks to what they would call meme and duplicate content. So if it's the same stuff being thrown out time and time again, the internet will look at that and go, hold on, that's been done before. So really what we're looking at is being rich in quality for the reader or the consumer, unique as regards content that's not the same content that there's a million posts of online. So your content in many ways is more valuable to the reader or the consumer. So ultimately what you might want to do is you might want to actually just take a slightly different tactic with some of your blog posts or even your social media updates, so you are unique, so the algorithms can kind of pick you up and rank you slightly higher. And we'll look at even Facebook this afternoon, where our organic reach is diving due to its algorithm and the means and the ways that we can use to actually reach more people on the platform itself. So rich, unique content becomes vital. There's a cool Facebook page. Now they also have an Instagram page and so on, and it's just Australia. Nothing to do with my wife being from Australia, but it's just Australia. And it's essentially the Australian Tourist Board. And what I love about what they physically do, and it's just something that you guys could nearly adopt in a funny sort of way, is they find some of the best images of Australia that people take on their holidays, professional bloggers and photographers. They get permission to use them. They post them on their Facebook page, and by golly, they're powerful images. But rather than do what the Irish Tourist Board does, or Tourism Ireland, they actually write a very clever little bit of commentary on everything that they share. So rather than showing a couple of kangaroos in the outback, which is lovely, they'll educate you on kangaroos. Not with a massive novel, but just a couple of lines of, did you know kangaroos grow up to be 76 years old? That's a made-up stat, by the way. That's just the Australian Tourism Facebook page. But what I love about them is they're not just putting lovely images up, they're actually putting appropriate text to accompany the image. So again, for you guys, I saw some of your Facebook pages, for example, and again, there's no shame in it, but I've seen some amazing imagery. Now, if I had really good text to accompany that imagery, that image would be more powerful and would motivate me more to actually go and do something. So just thinking about this unique, rich content becoming vital. So
Can I ask a question?
you can, yeah.
It's more of people who are here. Just in terms of unique, rich content, how many of you have looked any of us ambassadors on your website, videos that we've made for Grown? Do any of you have them? So there's a big missed opportunity that these videos were already made by very professionals with rich, unique content from four experts that you could upload this evening when you go home or over the weekend or that's already there in professionals. And it's,
Yeah, I think it's easy
Connect
to
us.
put a link to the YouTube videos from your own websites.
Yeah, no, and we can even embed them. So to be honest, even after this course, if people have issues, I mean, the Grow More website's a fantastic resource for you guys to spend a bit of time, see what's there, see what's useful, see what's not useful, and start to see what you can share with your community and how you would like to share it. So whether it's embedding it in your website or sending it out as a link on Facebook or so on. But there's good content there. Social advertising becomes more powerful. What do I mean by that? It becomes more powerful. Yeah. Yeah. So we can do crazy stuff now that we couldn't do. So we can be very, very specific with our advertising. So say, for example, we have a lot of traffic to our website. I can actually now what they call remarket to people that have visited my website. What that means that if 500 people have visited my website in the last month that live in the Rathfarnham area, if that's where my garden centre is, I can actually serve them up Facebook ads because I know the people that have visited my website are far more likely to come into my garden centres than the ones that haven't. So the ability to be really ultra specific with our advertising is immense. So ultra targeted ads. In the past, what we did with ads is we created ads that reached large amount of people, and we kind of hoped that some of those people would convert, or some appropriate people would even see our ad. We can now prevent that from happening by being far more specific with our ads. I mean, I believe we'll head into an era not long from now where we'll all be at home watching television, but the ad break will service up different ads because our smart televisions will know exactly what we're interested in, what we surf, what we like, what we don't like if we have kids. So I think in the future we're going to be served up really specific ads. And the reality is through Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, we already have the ability to be that specific. So that's definitely something that's going to grow. Private networks thrive. What does that mean? Does anyone use WhatsApp? Hands up anyone that uses WhatsApp. So again, these are horrible social networks. WhatsApp, Snapchat, so on. The reality is these are networks that are growing in popularity. In the past, everyone was happy to go on Facebook and literally put up drunken photographs of themselves on Facebook and literally put loads of stuff for people to see. There's a massive movement towards, I suppose, smaller, more intimate groups of people having conversations through the social web. So WhatsApp is growing at a phenomenal rate. It's got 1 billion users worldwide at the moment. Snapchat again has become a big factor with a younger audience, but that audience is growing. Guess how many people will use Snapchat today in Ireland? Not quite, but Snapchat would love you for saying that. 500,000 people will actually actively use Snapchat today, which is kind of amazing. So the reality is that's great, but as a brand, it's next to impossible to get into Snapchat unless you've got some kind of a plan to get there. So we'll look this afternoon how we could potentially use even staff members and ambassadors and people that love our brand to spread our message through that platform. The age of advocacy arrives. And it was a company called IBM that probably twigged this quite a while ago, which is kind of crazy because they're big. But they came to the realization that, hold on, we have staff, and we have loads of goddamn staff. And actually, in our terms and conditions that they signed when they came to work for us, it said, you can't mention us, you can't do this, and you can't do that outside office hours. Doesn't make any sense. So they've pretty much changed everything to you can, you should, and here's some cool exclusive content for you to share. So what they've tried to do is they've tried to turn as many of their employees into advocates, sharing cool stuff regarding IBM to their friends and their communities and their followers and their connections on the internet, knowing that A, if they deliver the story, people will buy into it at a much greater level, plus we were reaching places that we would never otherwise reach before. So this idea of employee advocacy is a big thing. Now, you can't force people to suddenly start sharing pictures of daffodils on their page if they don't want to, but the reality is if people love their job and they work with you, they may have a far bigger following and influence in the local area than your Facebook page does in itself. So it's incredible. You look at some young, enthusiastic gardener, they may have a massive reach of people that they could get your message out to. So turning your staff or your employees into advocates, definitely a big factor. There's also customer advocacy. So again, how I can encourage, incentivize, and we can look at strategies for this today, for our customers to actually say stuff about us, even if it's behind our back in a positive way. That's really, really powerful. So how can we get someone to tag us or to mention us when they said, spent the whole weekend gardening, got some great bulbs from such and such garden centre or whatever? How can we actually appear in those conversations that always happen? So how can we turn our customers into more advocates as well? And sometimes the simplest thing is, if you don't ask, you don't get. So sometimes we're very bad in Ireland at asking for anything. So I don't know what our problem is, because if someone asks us something, we're happy to help, but we're very bad at asking. So it's just a case of if someone is buying garden seed, they're redoing their lawn, just saying, literally, could you send me a photograph of your lawn when it's done, or whatever it is. We'd love to see the end results. But just something just to try to ask them to engage with you a little bit better. Last but not least, social media meets automation. And this is kind of scary, but it's kind of good if we do it right. We're going to find in a year from now, we'll find that a lot of our social media updates will be done automatically, or if not ours, probably Grow More's and bigger organizations. So unfortunately, to an extent, people are nearly being replaced by robots, as you can literally send a message and the robot can understand what your query is and serve you up an instant response, whilst when dealing with a human being, you may be waiting 6 hours for someone to respond. And one very simple example of that, and we'll look at them today, example of automation is, does anyone use Facebook Messenger on their business page? Hands up, anyone that does. So how many guys that use Facebook Messenger on their business page have an automated messages set up on them? So 2, so we got 2. So again, so tell us about the automated messages you have on.
It's just very basic, but just to thank them for their messaging that you will get back to them as soon as you can.
Cool, okay.
It's better than I think having anything there.
Big time, and again, even that, if it's outside hours, if they know, you can have kind of an outside office hours option on Messenger, so at least you're managing people's expectations. So you're going to find that this element of automation is just going to grow and grow and grow. I use another tool, just to mention you, it's called If This Then That. It's ifttt.com, and what I have it set up to do, it allows you to create what they call lots of recipes. So if something happens, do this. If this happens, do that. So I have it set up so if someone on Twitter mentions they need social media training, send me an email. And that's what it does. So anytime anyone mentions that online, it sends me an email. So that gives me a viable lead that I can follow up with. So again, if there's certain topics that you want to listen for, even if you want to listen out to anyone online talking about your garden centre, you have the ability to literally being alerted to it. So automation is going to become a big factor in our social media efforts in the near future.
Because I have, say, the work pages on my phone.
Yeah.
And it's to go out for punishment. Like, I would just answer them because it gives you a bit more personal touch.
Yeah.
But I know they're answered and I know what's coming.
And I think that's brilliant, and I think that's the way to do it, as much as we can. So, but the point is, there will be times when you're not around. So it just gives you've got the ability, just to kind of cover yourself. Yeah. Like I'm very frustrated if Amazon annoy me at 12 o'clock at night. I'm sitting there at 12:05 waiting for the goddamn response. Because we are, but if Amazon came back to me and said we'll be back to you by 10 a.m. tomorrow morning, I'd be able to enjoy my glass of red wine and go to bed in peace. So just managing those expectations will become a big factor.
So you get like a really good, that response rate symbol you have on your business page if you use the automation.
Yeah.
You get like 100% response rate.
Yeah. Well, you do. Yeah, you do. But the thing is, if your response rate will go down if someone's, like, the response rate's a bit gimmicky because, again, if someone says, oh, thanks a million, and
You don't respond back.
yeah,
You're went-
then it's going, oh, there's something here that hasn't been responded to. So what are you going to go, thanks a million? Oh, no problems. Thanks a million, no problems. Go on forever. But yeah, it does. It acts as a response. This great guy, Gary Vaynerchuk. Has anyone heard of a guy called Gary Vaynerchuk? He's my favorite social media guru. He's absolutely nuts. He's an American Belarusian. But what he says is, he says, forget about predicting the future when it comes to social media. It's bonkers. We don't know what's going to happen per se. He says, I don't make predictions. I just listen and act faster than you. And what he did is when Periscope, live streaming through Periscope came into play, he was the first adopter there, but he stuck with it. Snapchat adopted early and stuck with it. What most experts do, and even businesses do, is the ones that even act fast, then they give up after a while. So it's about acting fast and actually keeping going. So you actually have time to see the return on your investment that you're putting in. Because at the beginning, when you're adapting to something slightly different from what everyone else is doing, it may take time before that return on investment comes into play. There's a site, it's IPSOS. They're a research company. It's IPSOS MRBI is the exact company. Every quarter, they come up with a detailed social media report for the Irish market. And it's just interesting, just if you want to keep tabs 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, of what is actually going on in these platforms that we're being told are dead or very popular and so on. It tells us. So ultimately, they do it. It's done through a sample survey. So again, I think it's a significant survey. So it's not necessarily 100% accurate, but it's a good snapshot of what the usage is like in the world of social media in the Irish market. So we can see there, like, Facebook is still by far the biggest social media platform out there by a country mile. There's 2.5 million active Facebook users in the Irish market, which is pretty goddamn significant considering we said 2 years ago, people said 2 years ago it was dying, kids weren't on it, everyone was leaving it. It's just growing and growing. Up to 70% of that audience is visiting it on a daily basis. In fact, this study here says 74% of those people are visiting Facebook on a daily basis. So that's by far the biggest platform. There's no debate about it. Twitter, which sometimes in the Irish market I've thought has been slightly over-egged. Like, I think if you actually talk to a lot of your customers, they probably aren't going to be active Twitter users. Some businesses are. But again, before you make massive impact and investment on Twitter, make damn sure your audience are hanging there, because I don't think they necessarily will be for a lot of our businesses. We're saying it's 26% of people in Ireland are on Twitter, and 36% of them use it daily, apparently, and that figure is declining on a daily basis. The other one that's significant to us, and Carol mentioned it at the beginning, is Instagram. Instagram is growing steadily, not as fast as I would think in the Irish market, but it's steadily growing. And the age profile on Instagram is growing significantly as well. So really, I suppose 45 to 35 is probably as big as 35 to 25 in Ireland from an Instagram audience. So certainly the younger generation which started on Instagram, they're there, but also there's 35 to 45 are starting to use it significantly as well. So you're looking at 23%, but 55% of people using the platform on a daily basis. So much, much higher usage rate. But then you talk about, like, well, what's up with the likes of Snapchat and where do they fit in, and aren't they social networks? And no one mentioned YouTube. The reality is that this study puts them under social messaging. Now, social messaging apps are in many ways social networks within their own. And within there you have the likes of Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, and Snapchat, probably being the three relevant ones to you guys. We can see, like with WhatsApp now, obviously there's groups, lots and lots of different groups we can have. We can send videos, photographs, audio messages. There's lots of stuff we can do within WhatsApp that we typically would have just done on a social network before. So is there value in building a directory of WhatsApp groups for your nursery? So who are the people coming in that are interested in these products over here? Who are the people that are looking at these products over here? Who are the people looking at these products over there? Wouldn't it make sense to start to think about creating relevant WhatsApp groups where you could communicate with those people? No different from in the past when people used to do email marketing. They used to spend lots of time trying to build email marketing lists. I think there's great value as we move into this more private, hidden social network world to try to think about how do we build up valuable groups in the likes of WhatsApp. Facebook Messenger, again, is massive. So we've got 53% people using that, 55% of them using it on a daily basis. And then the one that won't go away is Snapchat. I mean, Facebook's trying very hard to kill Snapchat. It's just not working. It just seems to be growing and growing and growing. They announced, I think they made $1 billion in advertising revenue in the last quarter. So they just seem to be growing and growing and growing. Now, one little thing on Snapchat, and we can discuss it later, is something that will hit the Irish market soon is, does anyone use Snapchat? Cool, okay. So on Snapchat, when you take a photograph, you can actually use custom, what they call geo-filters. So I can literally say I'm in Dublin with my photograph, or swipe to a thing that says Dublin, Bucharest if I'm in Bucharest. Well, you can buy what they call these local geo-filters, so you can have Abbey nurseries. So the reality is, if you're investing in stuff, there's going to be opportunities that will allow you to be quite personal, quite cool. So even if people are sharing stuff amongst their friends, it will be tagged with your physical location, with your name. So there are opportunities there. But I mean, it's incredible that 500,000 people in Ireland will actually use Snapchat today.